Oh, hi, friends. This is fancy. I am so excited, and I'm not even going to do the thing like, oh, can you see me? Am I live? Because I can see that you can see me. So I can see that folks have joined. So if you are joining me right now, I'm wicked excited to be doing this. I have some awesome things to cover in this live. I have a special guest. We're going to talk about a whole lot of wicked cool 911 stuff. So really excited about that. But first, if you are watching, before I bring on my special guest, I'm just curious, who do you think it might be? So jump over in the comments. Hi, Gary. Jump over in the comments and let me know. Let me know who you think it might be. And we'll see if you're right. Maybe I'll even give you a booby prize. Can I say that? I don't know if I can say that. I'm new to this whole going live thing, but I'm really excited about it. So, drink with Teach Wicked. I love that. That's going to have to be a new hashtag. Very excited about that. All right. Well, we don't have too many folks that are guessing yet. Hopefully more folks will join as we go. But I am not going to wait too much longer till I bring on my guest, only because we have so many things to talk about today. Really excited for some awesome stuff. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Tracy Eldridge. I am a recovering 911 director. I spent 20 years in the 911 center, and I left just over 5 years ago to join the team at Rapid SOS. To work really hard to deliver device-based location to 911 centers for 911 callers. And I'm seeing my friends at Rapid SOS kicking off the year at their annual public safety event. I'm a little jealous that I'm not there this year, but I know that they're doing amazing things there. They continue to do amazing things. But a year ago, I decided to leave Rapid SOS and follow a dream and a passion of mine. And that was to start my own training and consulting company. And I did what every, normal person does in the middle of a pandemic, quit their perfectly good paying job that I loved to venture out on my own. And this last year has been nothing short of amazing. So I see a few guesses there. One of you is right. So we'll jump in there in a second, but we'll get more into the introductions in just a second. But again, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to go ahead and add my guest. Woo, there he is.
Gary's the winner.
Gary is the winner. Winner, chicken dinner, right? All right, so let me just change that background. I am good. No, we don't need leaves. Why did it go to leaves?
It's not fall. It's like we probably wish it was fall. It's like 5 degrees where I am right now, so it's crazy.
Yeah, and you're not far from me. So
and
I hear a celebration dinner is in our future, so we'll get to that in just a little bit. But yeah, so in full disclosure, this is all new. I have some things that I want to show you, but it's going to take me a second to navigate around here. So just be patient and make fun of me all you want, because that's how we roll. My dad told me when I was younger, the more people pick on you, the more they like you. So I know that I am truly loved.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Love may not be a strong enough word with the number of people that pick on us, right?
Exactly. So Jeremy DeMar, I am so excited to have you there. Wicked excited to have you here. We're going to talk about a whole lot of really cool stuff. I don't even know where to begin, but let's start with, who are you? Because there's some folks, I don't think there's many, but there's some folks out there that may not know who you are. So if there are one or two folks out there that have no idea who you are, please share who you are and where you started and where you are today.
Well, so first of all, I wanted to thank you for having me on today, and what people will find out soon. We'll probably be doing a little bit more of this, but we'll talk more about that soon. But yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with me, I see a lot of familiar faces or familiar names rather in the comments field there. But no, much like many of you, I've been in the 911 business for public safety for, I'm doing the math, public safety for well over 30 years, but almost 19 years on the 911 side. And oh boy, Keely's in here too. This is now I'm completely intimidated.
Hi, pretty lady.
Yeah, I knew this was coming. So yeah, just to kind of share with everybody, I started in 2003 as a police dispatcher up in upstate New York, Rochester, one of the largest per capita centers in the country, actually. Was a police dispatcher for I think 4 or 5 years before I took the exam to become a dispatcher 2, which is police, fire, and EMS. I did that for a few years and then became a supervisor. Did that for a few years. In the midst of all of those different things, a total of 15 years in Rochester. But in the midst of all that, I went back and finished my associate's degree, got my bachelor's degree, and then went on to grad school and published a thesis, which is what I'm obviously most proud about, and what I do a lot of speaking sessions on. Is, in fact, I did one yesterday for the National 911 Group on incident-related imagery, and we can certainly talk more about that as well. But I decided, though, after I finished my graduate degree, that I wanted to kind of dip my feet in the water and see if there were any higher level director level or deputy director level positions out there. And shortly after I submitted a few applications, I got an interview request for Springfield, Massachusetts. And fast forward a little bit, I ended up becoming the director of emergency communications for the city of Springfield, which is where I live currently. I was with them from early 2018 until April of 2020, at which time I accepted a executive director appointment down in New Providence, New Jersey, with Mountain Valley Emergency Communications, which is officially, at least as of right now, my last public safety endeavor on the 911 side before jumping ship like Tracy and many others have done onto the what we all like to call the dark side. And as you can see, NGA is my new place of professional residence. Great, tremendous company based out of California, but works nationally, focusing on next-gen core services, building out emergency service IP networks. But we could talk a lot about all that. But I love the 911 biz. I love the fact that I was able to leave the public sector and still stay in the 911 space, which is what I absolutely love. And I love being around all the folks that work in this. So this organization, this company, and NGA just affords me that opportunity and really gives me the flexibility to get out there and really keep talking about why it's so important to start looking at next gen 911.
And that was, I think that was a natural migration for you because you have been such a staple in moving the industry forward. I honestly believe that you are not afraid of moving anything forward, and that's really exciting. That pioneer position is a little scary at times, for sure. Stepping out there, doing things that aren't conventional, and I applaud your efforts there. But there's a special reason why we're here today. And I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of lead into why we're here today. We didn't randomly just say, oh, hey, let's go live. There's so many amazing things that are happening in the 911 space, and many of us are doing similar things, and we're excited to be sharing the benefits of technology. You know, one of the things that I say at my company, On Scene First, is that everything I do is to, if you can see it up there, is to save lives on that way. I don't know, it's opposite that way. Is to save lives on both sides of the call. So whether it's driving new technology, accepting new technology, not putting the blinders on, not being complacent, not just checking the boxes, but going, literally going through the motions and doing what you should be doing, but then a huge passion of the mental health aspect in the public safety space. Obviously, my heart and passion is built on a foundation of 911, but I do believe it's important for all disciplines of public safety. So you and I have been friends for a long time. We've been working on presentations together. We've taught nationally together. We've done podcasts together. So On Scene First isn't just one thing. There's a whole bunch of avenues. I have a podcast, On Scene First, with Tracy Eldridge. Jeremy was one of my first guests, of course. He would be, but over the last couple of months, when Jeremy moved over to the dark side, and we talk about it as the dark side, but when Jeremy moved over there, he and I very quickly started having conversations talking about how we can work together. And the first place that started was I started an On Scene First NINA ENP exam study group. And Jeremy has always been really supportive of anything that I do. And this was no different. And he immediately reached out and asked how he could support that. We had some conversations. And Jeremy, do you want to talk a little bit about what the folks at NGA 911 are doing for my study group?
Yep. So, as Tracy mentioned, I've been an advocate for education in the 911 space for a long time. I think it was back in 2011 that I started the APCO RPL certification. That was one of my first industry certifications. But after that, I jumped right into get my NINA emergency number professional designation as well. And I remember how arduous of a task it was studying for that, going through all the information, really trying to get myself to a point where I felt like I was at a place where I could take the exam. But I remember how beneficial the study guides were and the folks that were mentoring me and talking to me about the process and how it worked. And so when Tracy was talking about, she had this program and she wanted to obviously go out there and start educating folks. Number one, I love to see folks in our profession, telecommunicators, dispatchers, doing whatever they can do to try to move up within the industry. We need excellent, great, tremendous, wicked, awesome. See, I threw the wicked in there. Wicked, awesome leadership in our space. And one way to really do that, to paint that picture for yourself, is to go out and look at those industry certifications. So when Tracy first started talking about creating these study groups, I said, the great thing about that is, I remember when I was studying for it, we didn't really have the advantage of anybody doing these online study groups like this. I mean, I studied out of a book, out of materials that I could find, but there really wasn't an interactive forum out there that I could have taken advantage of at that particular time. What Tracy has created in her situation is she set it up so that people can be in there, be interactive, and go through it and ask questions and do a lot of things. And there's not really, there may be a couple more out there, but Tracy's really got it locked up as far as really crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's and making sure that she's doing the best she can for anybody that's thinking about sitting for the exam. So we arrive at this point because I said, well, what can we do to try to help out in that? And Tracy had thought about maybe making scholarships available to those that either weren't properly funded or didn't have the available funding through their agencies to go out and sit. And basically, based on what we had talked about, we came up with the idea of sponsoring a number of scholarships so that people that wanted to sit for the exam, who qualified based on qualifications that Tracy's already put out there, could actually submit a letter of interest to do that, go through the process, and if everything bodes well, basically get their examination fees covered. And I'm sure, what did you say the exam fees were? Is it like $400?
So the NINA member fee this year is $435, and not a lot of folks have the ability. Right. I know when I was a frontline, telecommunicator or supervisor, there was absolutely no way that I would have been able, to foot that, not only on a dispatcher salary, but our budget for our center, they weren't able to do that. So I knew that once I got this study group established, that I wanted to offer scholarships, because there's so many folks out there that as soon as I tell them the cost of it, it deters them. So I wanted to take away the hurdles. I wanted to take away the excuses for folks to be able to do it. So, and the criteria is you have to be able to sit for the exam. So basically you have to be able to fall into all the categories for the ENP test, which can be found on NINA's website. The information on the study group is there on your screen. We started last Friday. I have almost 400 people registered for this study group. What that tells me.
When you announced it, I couldn't believe the number. In fact, I think you had maxed out the number of people that you could actually let into the program.
I
You had to change your
did.
membership to get in. Yeah, it was crazy.
I did. And so in my mind, I had done it last year. The first one I did was right after I got my EMP certification. And then it was like on a wing and a prayer. I just, I know that there are challenges that I have to studying. So if I could make it easier for other folks, then I was going to do that. So did the study group, learned some things, fixed them for the next one, learned some things, and now things are really starting to fall into place. If you join the study group now, I'll send you a link to all of the past information. The best part about the way that I set up the study group is you don't have to be on live. I know that everybody's schedules are wonky, and that's a technical term. And you're not always
hold on. Side note, where I first heard the term wonky? Keely is online right now watching us. I first heard that from her. I'd heard wicked from you probably, but definitely wonky was Keely was the first one to bring that up.
Yeah, wonky is a technical term. Like if something's wonky, like you need to take notice.
You used it quite a few times. Fortunately, it wasn't to describe me, so it was good.
So yeah, you don't have to be on every week, and you can join us. The only thing I want to caution folks is to be considered for the scholarship, you have to be a part of the study group, and you have to have the application in by February 1st. Now, that seems like it's very quick. It isn't a ton of heavy lifting. It's basic information, but you do have to tell us why or how you think this certification is going to benefit you in your profession. Right? Because we want to know, like, are you just taking it just to take it because you want to have letters behind your name? But, it is important to know the passion that folks have under their reasoning for doing this. So very excited for that. Rapid SOS is also sponsoring the ENP study group, and they too are providing some scholarships. So for the spring 2020 ENP study group, we're giving away 6 total scholarships. So yeah, there's still time to register for this. You can register up until it's a 13-week. It's free. And even if you don't want to take the test, join, because we teach you a lot of things about 911, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't like the technical stuff. That's not my favorite place.
Yeah, no, the test is definitely a challenge. In fact, I keep going back to Keely, who actually I should share that with my departure from Mountain Valley and heading to NGA. Keely became the executive director of Mountain Valley, but shortly before that, Keely was working diligently last year on getting her ENP certification, and I'm happy to say that she did successfully complete that last year, as did Billy Griffin, one of our supervisors at Mountain Valley. So they both did an awesome job. In fact, Keely is now in the CPE class, and Billy is working on his RPL. So I loved it when I went into Mountain Valley and we started talking about all these things. People started coming up and asking me about training, and I'm like, hey, if you guys want to do it, let's do it. I mean, we've got a budget for it, let's do it. But to the point that you made earlier, not all centers have budgets for these things, and that's why the scholarships are super wicked important. It's just another avenue for you to go out and really just get in there and do these things, even if the money or the funding isn't there for it.
Yeah, there's no excuses. I had somebody send me an email that they wanted to be removed because when they from the email list, because when they went and checked out the criteria, they didn't have enough years in the center to take the test. And I want to encourage folks, even if you don't have the criteria to take the test this year, why not jump in and, maybe you'll learn a little bit more, or maybe you're planning on moving into a supervisor's position. And it's just good to have the knowledge, right? Because it covers a vast amount of topics for sure. So I just want to personally thank NGA 911. If you could just get that message back to folks that I truly appreciate it. You guys really helped me add a layer to this that I truly wanted to do, because I always want to give back to that profession that I truly love. Now, with that, those conversations, they didn't end there. And that, to me, is even more exciting. You guys stepped up to the plate to help with that. But you also stepped in a very different role. Would you like to talk about what's about to be happening in the very near future for us?
I think I'd be more interested in hearing you introduce that piece. You seem to be, I would love to hear what you have to say about that. I'm happy to share it afterwards, but I kind of I want that to be your big thing for today.
All right, cool. So starting my own company was a big challenge. There is no question about it. There was fear, there was anxiety, but I knew that it was time for me to do this, and I had to do it. I had to at least jump and see if the parachute was going to open, and so when I did that, I had to get creative and find ways to make sure that I didn't lose my house, that I didn't have to eat ramen for the rest of my life. And I know that I have a network of 911 professionals across the US that I connect with on a regular basis. So last year, Rapid SOS generously sponsored On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge, the podcast, and I truly appreciate them doing that. This year, when it came time to move into a new contract, they chose to move with the ENP study group, and that left me kind of wondering what was it that I was going to do. And I thought about it, I prayed on it, and I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. And you reached out to me and was like, hey, we want to do some stuff with you. Is there a way we can work together? Is there a way that we can sponsor you? And I mean, when I talk about timing, it was like the previous year was coming to a close, and you guys just stepped right in. And it was what it felt like to me was that it was a no-brainer. There were no hoops that we had to jump through. There was no doubt. There was no question. You and I always work very well together. And I'm really excited to announce that in 2022, NGA 911 is the premier sponsor for the On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge podcast and media solutions. So we're going to be doing some wicked fun stuff, and I cannot wait.
We're very excited, and to the best of my knowledge, this is a first for NGA. But when we first started talking about some of these ancillary sponsorships that we were going to do as an organization, and shortly after I came on as the director of outreach and engagement, one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was outreach and engagement. And that's talking to people and making them aware of the great things that we're doing as an organization, and trying to find avenues in which to accomplish that in the most efficient and effective manner. It's a challenge today. I mean, you can't just do social media blasts. You can't just do paid sponsorships. I mean, it has to be a combination of things. But when I was thinking about, one of the people out there who really has it together and who's connected to so many people and is really passionate about what she does, no question, I wanted to reach out to you and make this opportunity available. So we're very excited as an organization about this, to be doing this with you. We can't wait to see where the ship kind of goes this year and all the different things that we're going to do. And I think what's even better is that you and I have worked together so often that awkwardness that maybe some new people have when they're first working together, we've already broken all that ice. That ice is gone. And so you and I are just going to, we're going to hit the ground running and just go, and we're going to have a lot of fun while we do it, and hopefully teach a lot of people a lot of things, and maybe have some guests on and do some different things. But this is going to be big. I think certainly for your organization, but for NGA as well. It's just another avenue for us to get out there and engage and interact with people.
Yes, I am wicked excited. And I do think it's really important. One of the things that I am a huge fan of, and if you know me, you know that I am a firm believer in the DISC human behavior model. And you and I offset each other very well. When there are places I need corralling, you are the corraller. Like, you're the border collie that's going to bring me back into where I need to be.
Now I'm a dog.
So a little bit different than some of the things from last year's sponsorship will definitely be in place. But what you are going to see from Jeremy and I is you're going to see more of this. We already have our brains are spinning as to what we can bring into the 911 space. So we know there will be more of these that are happening. You're able to find them on the YouTube channel as well, my On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge YouTube channel. channel. If you wanted to share it with folks or whatever, you'll find it on our social media. But one of the things that we definitely want you to do is to reach out and let us know in the chat feature here on this live is what are some of the topics that you guys want us to talk about. I can guarantee it's going to be new technology, embracing technology, new ways to use old technology. There's stuff out there that a lot of folks don't even know exists that we, Jeremy and I are super passionate about. I was doing a session a couple weeks ago and I was talking about Google codes, and folks are like, "What?" One of my friends in Kentucky was like, "Well, but why do I need Google codes? I have Rapid SOS. I have what 3 words? But I was able to explain it to him in a way that kind of brought that wall down a little bit to say, oh, okay, it's another tool in the toolbox. Yep. And I'm a firm believer, you cannot tell me, and Jeremy, are you the same? You can't tell me there's too many tools in the toolbox.
No, right? Especially, I think when you're operating, and I know that our audience, your audience, is a mixed group, and many of the same people that you and I know most of the people, if not all the people that are on these lists that we're looking at. But this comes down to leadership and looking to what's going on in our individual centers. My goal, regardless of where I am or what organization I'm affiliated with, whatever it happens to be, is to do whatever I can do to try to better the 911 profession as a whole. And I think that's what made the fit with NGA so valuable to me, is that their mission is really to go out there and remove, not necessarily remove, but enhance those legacy practices by bringing in these newer technologies and making these tools available to all of our folks that are on the front line. When I was a director, I was doing a lot of the same things. We were the first to implement several technologies. And, a lot of times there's a lot of folks that sit in that director seat that are like, I'm going to kind of sit back and wait, or I'm going to see what somebody else does. But, if all of us have that opinion or kind of that attitude when it comes to emerging technology, we're never going to advance the profession. We're never going to be able to move forward. So that's really where I see a big part of what you and I are going to be talking about when we do these sessions and bringing guest speakers in and doing those kind of things. It's going to be about not only explaining what these newer technologies are, but how they are going to benefit PSAPs and ECCs across the country and make things better for the profession as a whole. It's educating your folks, your frontline personnel. It's making educational and training opportunities available, which is already happening with Tracy with her study groups. But more importantly, it's overall education about emerging technology, cutting edge technology. Really just making sure that people understand that. And that's what we hope to accomplish. One of the things we hope to accomplish with this group.
Yeah, and I couldn't be more excited. So the technology piece is ironically a passion of mine. I remember when I was in the 911 center, any conference I went to, I was going right for the classes that were warm and fuzzy and touchy-feely and how to get your people to like each other and all that stuff. And I avoided at all costs going into like the I3 standard or the, learn about the next gen routing and all this. Like it wasn't my thing. And, I look back and I'm like, I'm super geographically challenged. So the fact that I left my 911 center to go work for Rapid SOS, which was a location technology company, there was a ton of irony there in my house. I joke that it took me a while to figure out that Alaska was not an island near Hawaii, because that's where they put it on the map a lot. In my defense, I wasn't the only one that thought that till an older age. But once I started really understanding it and knowing the importance of it, I remember going into work and it was like, okay, if that thing rings, answer it. If that thing talks, talk back to it. And, in the beginning of my career, I always gave it everything I had, but not going any further than I had to. And then that changed very, very quickly. So I want to encourage folks to do more, to be passionate again. And then the other aspect that I know you and I are going to talk about, and both of us have a huge passion for, is the mental health and wellness of our 911 professionals. Jeremy, from like the day that your master's like rolled off of the presses, you know that I've been supporting your thesis, because we know that stuff is going to be entering their space, that they are going to be seeing things. Can you talk a little bit about your thesis, and we'll give contact information if anybody wants a copy of it. I'm sure you'll be willing to share. But talk a little bit about that thesis.
Yeah, there is the thesis that Tracy's talking about was published in March of 2017 through the Naval Postgraduate School. The title of the thesis is Next Generation 911 Policy Implications of Incident-Related Imagery on the Public Safety Answering Point. And for the purposes of this, incident-related imagery, if you're not familiar with the term, incident-related imagery is, in the simplest terms, still images, pre-recorded video, or streaming media coming into the ECC, but it really is not limited solely to that medium. It could be, we have through the Internet of Things, IoT, sensor technology, crash notification, all those things. Those are all going to be sending imagery in. So incident-related imagery really encompasses all those different areas. But one of the things that the research revealed several different findings, which we don't have enough time in today's session to talk about it, but we can certainly do that at a later time. But one of the things that the research definitely revealed was that we already work, every one of you that's on this session knows we work in a highly stressful environment as it is in an audio only format. I mean, all of our folks have become very, very good at listening to the audio side of the situation and determining what's going on. We're suddenly going to be plunging our people into this visual world where still images, graphic and objectionable material is going to be coming through. What is the impact going to be on our personnel? And I believe and I'm only able to say this because I delivered a session yesterday and I had to look it up into my abstract, but I think it's like 32% of the calls that we get as 911 professionals fall into that high level critical, level stage. That would be like child injuries and fatalities, responder injuries and fatalities, suicidal callers, those kind of things. So if those are the calls we're getting, think about as a 911 professional being there, not just hearing those things coming across, but now seeing the visual piece. That is going to exponentially increase the stress level that our people have. Secondary stress, vicarious trauma. I mean, all those areas just get built up. So what we really need to be doing, one of the things that I'm constantly harping on, and Tracy, I know you're the same way, I'm constantly talking about, these support services are widely available. I don't want to make it sound like everybody on the fire and police and EMS side have it, but for the most part, fire, police, and EMS, they have access to those things a lot easier than many 911 professionals across the country do. So what Tracy and I really try to accomplish by going out there and talking about this is making sure that the powers that be understand that your first responders, the people that are answering these 911 calls, the very first point of contact in the emergency communications process, they need that same level of support. They need that same level of knowledge and need to be able to know how to deal with those situations and how to best handle what's coming across and what they're seeing. The thesis goes on to examine a lot of different areas, but one of the things that was most critical, especially for any directors or any leadership that's out there, is if you have peer support or facilitator programs that are available currently, your peer support facilitators are going to need to have an enhanced level of training to be able to deal with what the visual piece of our technology is going to do and how that's going to change. Your folks are trained right now in dealing with people that are just hearing trauma. They're hearing graphic things going on, but they only have what's going on in their mind to be able to do that. Now we're suddenly going to be piping the visual piece into this. It's a true game changer for our industry. And that was one of the reasons why I chose to research it as part of my graduate product, because I really wanted to dive in to what we could do as an industry and a profession to try to help our people. That's what it was all about.
And I love it because, number one, incident related imagery is a term that you came up with that is now a thing. It is a thing. Yeah. When we look at glossaries moving forward, it is good. It's going to be in there. And you can look back 50 years from now and be like, hey, feeling pretty proud that you created a term in the 911 space that is going to be carried on for a really long time. I remember
if I make it to 100, maybe I'll do that. We'll see if that works.
Yeah, you're right. So my friend Carol from Virginia, I don't know if she's watching, but I'll make sure that she knows that she got mentioned. She always gets mentioned when I talk about this. Is I was in, she was from Hanover County in Virginia, retired now, living her best life. And I remember doing a session at one of their training days, and I had talked about somebody had said to me one time, like because I left, for those of you that don't know, most do, but if you're new to watching me, I left my 911 center because of PTSD and mental health issues. And it has been a struggle and a battle. And I learned a lot, and I'm proud of where I am today, despite all of those challenges. But I remember talking to somebody who couldn't comprehend how we can be affected in the 911 center when we don't see things. We're not there. It's not like the field responders where they come up on scene and they're actually visualizing it, and they can't, loop the visuals looping in their head. And I remember saying to the person, and I was sharing this story, and I'm going to share a profound statement that Carol said not long after I said it. But I said, do me a favor. I don't want you to think about a purple school bus with a pink Christmas tree on top and a naked Santa dancing around that Christmas tree on top of the bus. I don't want you to think about that. And they didn't even need to say anything. Why? Because me just verbalizing it, they had no choice but to visualize it, right? You're not going to go, oh no, wait, I don't want to visualize that. And Carol immediately puts up her hand and she says, my ears have seen things that my brain will never forget.
Right.
And let me say that again. My ears has seen things that my brain will never forget. And to me, that encapsulates it all, right? So we got to get better. We know that we've been talking about NG 911, next generation 911, that has been coming forever. So many components of it are here. What I think is awesome, Jeremy, is talk about full circle, right? Like, you wrote this thesis. You have been an industry expert on incident-related imagery, and now you are going to be a facilitator in the big boy job that you have now to getting that data to folks. And some folks may think that's contradictory. I don't. I think you being an advocate to say, oh, no, we can't do it like that.
Yeah.
It needs to be done like this. And as long as we get better at educating ourselves and getting those mental health and wellness resources out to folks. I don't know how many of you are heading out to San Diego next week, but Jeremy and I will be there. On Wednesday, I will be doing a presentation. I think it's at 10:15 with Lynn Tazioli. And Jeremy's going to make a guest appearance, I hope. We're going to be doing...
I guess I am.
Oh, did I forget to tell you that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll put it on the calendar.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a presentation on the 2013 acute stress standard that Jim Marshall and I co-chaired the standard update. And that is, it's almost a new standard. It's going to be the 2022 standard. It has a new name, a new look, a new feel, new additions. And Jeremy, your incident-related imagery information is in there. And so again, it's gonna stick. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. No, it's I certainly didn't go into the research process with the intent of coining a new phrase or a new term that everybody was going to use. But it was the real quick story behind that was when I started looking for something that talked about, still images, streaming media, video, I went out there fully thinking that there was a term that was already out there. I said, there's not really anything out there that really captures this. And when I came up with that term and threw it in there, it just made sense. And in subsequent things that have now, are going to be published with NINA and are going to be published, are already published with CISA, SAFECOM, and Department of Homeland Security. I mean, it's out there. So that was not my intent, but again, at the end of the day, my goal is just to get PSAP, ECC leadership, practitioners across the country to start talking about it. Because if we continue to have this, that's going to be after I retire, or I'm not going to worry about that, or we're good with the status quo and the way things are working right now. That to me is where we really fail as a profession, not just as leaders, but for the people that are maybe just starting today and are going to be moving up in the profession. We need to prepare our people, our frontline dispatchers, our telecommunicators, our trainers. We need to do whatever we can as leaders in this space to try to help them. And the best way to do that, one of the ways to do that, is by educating them and informing them. And if you take nothing else away from this session today, and then I'm going to get off my soapbox about this topic, I always tell people, just have conversations, educate yourself. One of the things I did, shortly before departing Mountain Valley to come to NGA was we had formed a work group that specifically taught, where we were going to talk about what the impact would be. What do you think about incident-related imagery? How do you think images are going to change the game for you? There was no agenda there. It was just myself, my deputy, my training coordinator, and 3 or 4 of our frontline folks. We're just going to sit around and kind of round table what they think the impact's going to be. Because I think depending on who you ask, depending on tenure, how much time they've been on, are they new, age, old, young, whatever it happens to be, you are going to get completely different descriptions and thought processes about where the industry is going. And that's really where organizations like NGA and others that are working in this space, we really have an obligation to go out there and educate folks and make sure that they have the appropriate information. And I'm hopeful you and I can really get through a lot of that this year.
And I think it is bridging that gap and having folks just be a little bit more open to seeing the value in things, right? So I remember one of my cherubs, one of my dispatchers, I had come home from a meeting, and this is like 5 years before text to 911 even was, the state was actually even saying, hey, in next year or whatever. But about 5 years before, they had started talking about it at some of the state 911 meetings, that text to 911 is going to be a thing and it's going to come. And I remember one of my cherubs came up to me and he's like, yeah, I'm giving my notice. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, when? And he goes, as soon as they announce the text to 911 is, you got my 2 weeks notice. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's a long way away. He says, yep, as soon as you tell me I have to go to training for text to 911. And he pulled out his flip phone. And he's like, this is where I am. I'm not doing that stuff. I'm not into the fancy equipment and all that. And that was such a profound moment for me. And you are right. If you have the conversations, because one of the things that I've learned through some of the consulting that I've done, I'm working with a very large agency, and then I've worked with a couple of smaller agencies over the last year. And one of the things that is proving to be consistent is that a lot of times administration operates in a funnel, right? So, or a silo, sorry. And they're over here doing their thing, and then the worker bees are over here doing their thing, and very rarely is there, communication and it's not it's not a fault of anybody. It's just kind of the way that things have always been, and we know that's dangerous. But I do want to encourage folks to have more conversations, because your folks do have a right. The frontline folks have a right to have a say and be able to talk about some of the fears that they might be having, right?
And to the point you made earlier, about folks coming up to you and saying, I'm out. I mean, when I was doing the graduate work and I was talking about what the topic was, this was back, 2016, when I was doing 2015, 2016, I had folks in my center at the time when I was up in Rochester saying, yeah, when that happens, I'm out. Same thing you heard when you were talking about text 911. But I heard an interesting saying, which I like to use to this day. I was at one of these, I forget, I might have even been at the Atlantic chapter conference or something. I can't remember what it was. But one of the presenters said, there's two things people in every organization hate: change and the way things are. And I'm like,
yes.
It's kind of like, and I was like, wow, that really resonated with me. So we're going to complain about the way things are going now, but if somebody tries to change it, we're going to complain about that too. It's like, guys, you can't have it go both ways. and really try to improve what we're doing. And if you look at the way all other, and I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care if it's food service or aviation or marketing, whatever it happens to be. If we remain stagnant, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, and not do things to exponentially improve what we're doing within our profession, how can we ever expect to get better?
When I do one of my presentations about folks kind of being in that box and not wanting to advance, further, I just remember, so when I was with Rapid SOS for the first year, I basically traveled around the country selling a free product that didn't exist yet. It was like, vaporware. And it was like the land of make-believe, right? So, squirrel, one of my cherubs, Heidi, she was one of my cherubs a long time ago. But when I would travel around the country, this is the message that I would hear about location accuracy. I don't like the way it is, but we're not going to change it because that means that we have to change it. Yeah. And this is my total impression, and I'll see if I can do it effectively on here, is we literally gave them a tool for free that in the beginning, because that's all we could do. Now, remember, when I joined Rapid SOS, we were like 17 people. I was number 17 in the company. Now they have over 300 people, whatever. But with the people that we had, what we were able to do is when Apple and Google said, yes, we're going to turn on this technology, which was really exciting, we knew we had to give them a way to access it. So we're like, hey, Apple and Google is going to turn on this technology in that device that basically gives you the exact location. But what's going to happen is you're going to have to log into another program and you're going to have to put the phone number in. And I can't even tell you how many times this was the response.
That was pretty good. I liked it.
But the very first time that somebody typed in that phone number, when it was a child that didn't know their address or somebody that was driving home on an unfamiliar road and they're flipped over in their car and they have no idea where they are and all they're getting is a tower location. The first time that telecommunicator put that number in and the location, like literally the responders could pull up in the little green location dots over their head, like in The Sims. That's all I can envision. They realized the magnitude of it. So I tell that story, and I tell it often, is because I think that we get so hell-bent in our ways that it's like, yes, we appreciated that, for this, you have to do that. For this, you might have to do that. Everything can't be all in the same place. Yeah. But what you can do is seek to find those things, right? So I know that NGA 911, you guys are providing kind of a host of solutions where it's like end to end, right? Like you're starting at the time of the call.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that excited me the most about NGA, and again, I'm only a few months into my tenure with the organization, but one of the things that excited me the most about this from a technology standpoint is that I think there's a lot of folks that sit in that leadership seat in 911 that are like, yeah, I can't really take care of it. I can't really do anything next gen 911 unless my state has adopted or my jurisdiction has adopted it or my locality, whatever it happens to be. But the great thing with NGA's solution is that we can do it at the individual center PSAP level and for a lot less than you would expect. And what I tell people with that, because I remember when we were preparing for today's session, you and I talked about, well, how long are we going to go for? And do you think we'll have enough content? And here we are approaching the 4 o'clock hour. So surprise, surprise. You and I not at a loss for words. But what I like to share with people is if you do nothing else as it pertains to Next Gen 911, of course, remember that what I told you before, conversation is important, education is important, but get out there and start to understand the different solutions that are available out there. Do things to grow the capabilities of your organization, provide those tools. I want to go back to what you were talking about when you were talking about some of the tools that you were first, pitching, and which now organizations like Rapid SOS, you don't even need to pitch them anymore. I mean, it's a household name in the 911 business, but that didn't happen overnight. That happened with success stories and a lot of these different things. But I think back to when I was actually answering the phone and dispatching. And some of the folks, I mean, we would get these callers. We had no idea where they were, but we didn't have rapid. We didn't have what 3 words and all these other things that are out there now. I'm not saying I want to get back in the seat again because I did what I was supposed to do, but
no.
To think I had, if I had those tools then, I mean the analog practices that we had to, call on the cell phone company, say, hey, can you do this for me? And then every 3 minutes, an officer or somebody, hey, can you ping it again? Okay. And it's just a lot of that now, it's just automated. But that's because of technology. That's because there's innovators and industry partners out there that are creating tools that are making it easier for us to do our jobs and hopefully save lives and property at the same time. So, do what you've got to do as a leader. Don't just wait to be a leader, by the way. This isn't just for directors or deputy directors or training coordinators. Frontline dispatchers, even people that have just started today, and we'll come full circle back to your study group. That's why the study group is so important, and that's why getting credentials like ENP and RPL and CPE and all these different things that are out there, it educates you about what's going on in the profession. And why wouldn't you want to know more about what you're doing? I mean, you spend a huge chunk of your life, and with recruiting and retention being such a problem right now, you're probably spending more time than you might care to at the office. But why wouldn't you want to learn more about what you could do to enhance your capabilities when it comes to helping people? And that's what technology is all about. Not about being the first. It's about just learning about it.
Well, it is learning about it, but then another thing that I love about your company, because I'll tell you, you guys made a splash. There's no question about it. All of a sudden you weren't there and then you were. And I love that. The other thing I love about NGA 911 is all the faces that I'm seeing there are folks that sat in the seat, right? There is nothing a company can do better than to get the folks that sat in the seat, that did the job. And a lot of folks, and again, so I already know our next topic because we didn't get to one of the topics that I did want to talk about before we start to wrap it up is actually leaving the center. Yeah. That's a hot topic. When I did a session on that at APCO the last 2 years, this year that just passed, and then 2 years before that, the session was packed, going from the PSAP or the ECC to the private sector. There are things that people are so afraid of. There are folks that say these words. So make sure you tune in next time, that there are folks that say these words. This is all I know. Good. Yeah. Good. I'm glad that 911 is all you know, because there are so many companies out there that need and want and value your expertise. And that is how you got to where you are. That's how I got to where I am. It's about being passionate in what you do, right?
Yeah. And the importance is, companies like NGA, I mean, they are very open with the folks that they brought in, like myself and others. They want to hear what we think. They want to hear, our ideas. If we're rolling out a particular idea here, or we're doing R&D on this particular thing, they're absolutely interested and laser focused on our opinion, because we're fresh from the trenches, right? I mean, we're the ones that were out there working with our frontline folks. But I will even tell you, as a director, in some cases, I was far enough removed where that's why I needed to go back and engage my frontline personnel, my dispatchers, my communications officers, to ask them, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I mean, I haven't taken a 911 call probably in, 7, 8, 9 years. It's changed. I know the business has changed, but that's why it's so important as leaders in this space to go back and engage our personnel and involve them in these conversations. But I love how NGA, the people that they bring in, they ask for that. They ask for our input. That's incorporated into their solutions, into how they develop products, and ultimately how they support the end user, the customer. So that's just one of the things I love about the organization. But we do have a lot more to talk about, and I do want to be respectful of everybody's time as well. So
yes,
I'll let you get into wrap up.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say that Keely just called you out in the comments. So apparently you're telling stories.
Yeah, I saw Gary put something in there earlier too about me getting blamed for any imagery coming in. I mean, I only take credit for writing about it. I don't take credit for the idea, Gary. So that.
Yeah. So we will wrap up because, yeah, I wanted to stay within the hour, so we are just there. I hope that this hour was valuable for you. You will be seeing us more. Make sure you reach out to us. I'm going to put up our contact information. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to put up our contact information and then I'll be right back. Just want to make sure that it gets out there. So hold on one second. All right, here you go. Now, it was only up there for a second, but you can pause your screen. But at minimum, Google one of us. You will find us. I tend to say we get around in a positive way, but if you are coming to the NINA Standards Best Practice next week, make sure you come up and say hi to us. Jeremy, somebody said to me the other day that they saw me at a conference and they wanted to come talk to me and they didn't because I was talking to somebody. Any idea what my reply was to them?
Come interrupt me? I don't know.
Come interrupt me. I am always talking to somebody.
Yeah. Tracy not talking, that just doesn't, those don't line up. So
it does not compute. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. And always remember, stay safe, stay strong, stay here. We need you. Thanks everyone.
Everybody. Take care.